What's up, everybody? Welcome to for Our Future. I almost said Back to the Future, Tony. I screwed it up from the go. But Back for Our Future, the show that looks back at our past to maybe inform the future. That's what we still look for on this show. Tony's here with me, and then Tony has brought a very awesome guest. I'll let him do that little intro.
Yeah, of course.
How are you, buddy?
Doing well, and yeah, we do have a great guest today. We got producer Brian Pitt, one of my closest friends and co-worker. We've done a lot of movies together. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about this, Brian. We've done what, about 25 movies together, I think, where we've actually been on the set together.
At least
The
I didn't
20,
count. I lost count.
yeah. So we basically, so to give a history of how I know this guy. Uh, I did when I was breaking into the business when we lived in Mobile, Alabama. Drew and I were living in a house together, and this is 2000. Well, this is actually going to be 2000. And Drew asked me if I wanted to do a reshoot of a movie called American Leather, which comes out as Hometown Legend. And I agreed to do it. It was like a 1 day reshoot, and I got to set, and I met Jimmy Woods, who listens to the show, and I met Brian Pitt, who was like the second AD on that. And I did that 1 day, and then that 1 day turned into Love Liza with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Kathy Bates and Jack Kaler and all those guys. And Brian Pitt was the second on that, and Jimmy Woods was the second AD on that. And Drew Hall, who you all know, was in locations on that movie. So that's how we all kind of know each other, is through that movie. And then like a couple of years where we kind of disconnected, and then you and I kind of reconnected for Waiting a couple years later, and we've been working together ever since. And so yeah, we've done like you and I've done like 25 movies together since then, and if you include the movies that I've done like pre-production stuff, like prep work and schedules and all that kind of stuff, director stuff, I think it's over 50.
I didn't know I made that many films.
Well, I
No,
don't
I
think we
think
made I don't think we made all of them. Some of those prep ones didn't actually get made.
that'll happen for sure.
It happens. It happens. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've traveled all over the place. We talk all the time, and yeah. So I'm here with two of my best friends, and that's great. And but we've got some fun business here because there's a new movie that I did a lot of prep work on. It comes out today because this is Wednesday. You're hearing this for the first time on Wednesday, August 26th. And there's a new movie coming out on Prime called The Last Sunrise, with starring Eva Longoria. And Brian, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, really excited about it. It's going to be a pretty big release. Tony, you did all the prep work for the schedule and a bunch of script work on it for us. I think, if I remember. It was really it's my first big film out of the box with my new company, Pittstreet, and it's I mean it's a great film. It's going to be Amazon's big end of summer film, and it's I mean what would I say? It's gorgeous. There's great actors. It's in Mallorca where I am right now. Every shot is beautiful, and it's a great story.
Yeah, if I can
Yeah.
if I can just jump in and say like having seen the trailer, I just watched it. I watched it when Tony mentioned you were coming on. I rewatched it. It's gorgeous. Does not even do it justice, Brian. You guys knocked it out of the park. The just in the trailer alone, like the performances are really good. Like, and again, it's a trailer. We get it. But like the visual mixed with the performances, the aesthetics that you guys captured, your production design elements, obviously the location doesn't hurt. I think you're going to end up having a grand slam just because of the way it, like the vibe of it. I think it's just going to resonate. So I'm just kind of curious, how did you guys, because that's based on a book. How'd you guys find this project? How do you guys come across something like that?
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting story. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say, but I think I can let it all out of the bag now. The project originally was with Netflix, And my good friend Jennifer Gibgot, who's my producing partner on this as well, and has produced many films with me as well as Tony.
Yeah.
Um, she had the project. The script was written before the book was written, so it was supposed to be a simultaneous. Anna Todd, who Tony and I have worked with many times, the author of the After franchise, she was writing the book. Netflix was writing the script. It was all going to come together, and they were going to do this project many years, or I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. Timing didn't work. Who knows what happened? Um, and then it kind of just went away, went into turnaround as projects do. They get forgotten about for 6 months, a year, what have you. And Jen came to me, and she knew I had just left the company I was with, Voltage, and just started out on my own with the new company, and said, "Hey, Bri, would you want to join forces on this, and let's do it ourselves? Let's pull this one together ourselves. We think it's going to be amazing. We'll put the old band back together. We got Anna, we got you, we got her." And I said, "Sure, let's give it a shot." And I actually was planning on taking the year off. So I was like, "Yeah, we'll get to it end of summer. We'll start looking into it. You know, these things take years." And long story short, I think it was like 3 weeks later, I was in negotiations with Amazon and on a time schedule saying, "You guys got to shoot in like 3 months in Majorca in the busiest time of the year, you know, and a completely very overloaded summer vacation spot." And we just jumped in and we got it going. And it's you know, I've done a lot of let's call it YA drama, YA romance, tons of those series. I know how they work. This one by far, we took it to another level. I mean, you'll see by the photography on it. We had an amazing DP, Rob Givens, and every shot is gorgeous.
Yeah. Rob is great. I did a movie called The Hero with uh, Sam Elliott, Nick Offerman, and Max. He's and that was funny because I actually introduced you guys at the rap party on that at that
That's
movie.
right. Yeah, I forgot about that. And
Yeah,
I'd worked with Rob in the past. He did one of the after films.
yeah, yeah. That was all stuff we did after the rap party, and we did The Hero. I don't even know if you remember meeting him there, but that was one of the guys I introduced you to that night. Yeah,
Brian, don't
with
feel bad if you don't remember. Tony, we joke on the show that Tony has a steel trap.
it's a I mean it's a rap party. Who remembers everything from that? That was
Yeah,
the night that was the night that I parked in the towaway zone and came out and the car was gone. Remember that?
I
It
do.
was
I do.
it was it was like the whole row of cars that was there. They were all gone coming out of this. We were getting some late night food, and by the time we came back, I'm like, "Where the hell's the car?" And it's gone. And Brian had to take me over to the impound lot, and I had to spend like
Uh,
$4 to get my car out of the impound. It was absolutely ridiculous. So
I
yeah,
forgot about that.
that's what happened.
Welcome to LA, Tony.
You're like, where'd you park? I was like, man, I got a great spot right next to the venue, and it was a great spot. I don't know where I didn't see that sign, but I didn't see it at the time, so it is what it is.
Yeah,
But
but
I
don't
got
feel bad because those LA signs, you'll park on one street and there'll be 76 signs. People that don't know, that listen to the show, that have never been to Los Angeles, it's seriously, there's like 10 signs above you and they all have different times and codes and zones, and it's the most confusing thing for a redneck from Alabama when we were out there finishing stuff, like trying to park. So don't feel bad. You did good. You're not a redneck, but I am. So you did good.
no, it was a lot of fun. So yeah, Rob is awesome, and the last sunrise. But you know what I'm excited about this is your new company, Pittstreet, as well. And one of the things I love about it is I was out there recently to do a movie. I got to tour your new, and you got to talk about these offices because this is not a normal office. Okay, what you're doing inside this place is not something everybody always sees. You've got like every office has got its own like motif and unique look, and they look like um, One's done like a cinema, and you got to talk about this a little
Yeah, well,
bit.
I am pretty proud of the building. You know, it's one of the things that I really wanted to do when I came out with the new company because, you know, Tony, for me, making the movie is as much fun and as important as the final product, right?
It,
And I really wanted to create a creative space for filmmakers to come and feel free and not stuffy in some little lot, you know, where you're in this little office on a lot and it's kind of boring and blah blah blah. So we created Pittstreet, the company, but also the place,
right.
which you haven't seen it finished actually, but you know, you come into our space and there's barbecue areas so you can spend as much time as you want there. If you need to eat, you know, we can cook food for you. We have our own Blockbuster video inside the facility. We have secret rooms that pop open for screening rooms. Everybody's office, because again, I wanted it to be a very art, like, you know, just freeing artistic space where you can just think about anything you want. So you come into our space and there's everybody's office is built like a separate building, you know, and there is a movie theater and there's a cafe and there's a little grandma's house and there's second floors above the offices where you can lay in nets and read your scripts. Um, Tony, you didn't see all the walls are done. It's you walk in, it looks like a giant Looney Tunes cartoon now, and the walls light up and there's depth and everything. So we really just created a fun space where people can just come and spend time, talk about films, and hopefully come up with some good ideas. Because we're very, you know, we're very filmmaker centric company.
No, absolutely, and that was the thing out there a few months ago. It was still a work in progress. Your guy, your buddy Josh, was still working on it, and yeah, it was a lot of fun though. It was pretty neat. I've seen a lot. I mean, I've seen a lot of photos since again, so I kind of understand it now since I was out there and I saw the entire space. One of the things that I thought was funny, right, is and I made a joke then, and I'm going to tell the joke now. Was that you and I have been doing a lot of, and this is part of it, and this movie's part of it, is we do a lot of we've been since 2018 we've been doing a lot of teen dramas together, a lot.
A lot.
We've always done a lot. We've always done a lot of different genres and stuff. We've done a lot of teen dramas. So now Brian and I, two middle aged guys, we do a lot of teen dramas together now. And so this entire wall, which granted, it's a lot of movies, so there's no complaints. Don't get me wrong. It's the entire wall at one point is all posters of the last like maybe 8 years, and it's quite a few. It's quite a few movies, so that's great. But they're all the posters are done pretty much by the same company, and they're all teen dramas. And so I would made a joke that the posters pretty much all look the same.
You know, if it works, don't fix it, I guess.
I
But
was
yeah,
like,
I mean, that wall, Tony, I think that's got to be what, 60 foot long, and it's just there's 15 full size marquee posters up, and they're all very similar.
they're all very similar. It was well, you don't think about it when you're doing the films. You know what I'm saying? Because I own some of those posters myself, but they're not all sitting like side by side by side by side like that. When you see them all together, you're like, they all look very similar. I mean, the movies
Well,
are different. Posters look
I
very
tell
similar.
you, I actually was putting them back up once they got framed properly, and I put a couple in the wrong order because I kind of lost track of which one was which.
Right, right.
And Nick Chartier walked in one day, and he looks, he goes, "Why'd you have the movies backwards?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "They're out of order." I'm like, "Oh my god, hang on a second." I had to move them all around.
So Nick is the head of Voltage. So we did a lot of movies with him. So yeah, it was that would make sense that he might say that.
So Brian, like from being in the industry and having like, I mean, you worked your way through up into the producer role, like, you know, just for me, just from my own curiosity, because I haven't talked to you in years, or I hear about you through Tony. Like, what's it like now to have like the company? Like, what does that mean now? Like, what does it mean now to go from like starting out as a second? I'm sure you probably key setted before that. Somewhere you were a PA. At some point in your life, you had to have PA'd. You didn't just come out of the room, the world's greatest producer, right? But what is it like now when you look back on the journey to where it is to have Pittstreet? What does that mean? Like when you kind of, and then launch your first film that's epic, like launch this really great looking, I really believe it's going to do really well. Like, what is that like now?
Well, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a little bit it's a little bit surreal. Tony and I both started out. Yeah, I started out as the trash guy, picking up the cigarette butts whenever we would put them out in front of you, and basically just taking garbage out till somebody hired me. And then Tony and I met in the PA world. It's pretty cool. It's At some point, I don't know if you guys have gone through this, but there was a time in my life when you're moving up. You're doing PA work, then AD work, then UPM work, then line producer work, then producer, then you own your own company. But there's that moment where I'd be doing a couple AD jobs, and I'm like, well, do I say I'm an AD yet, or am I still a PA? And there's that moment when you get your first producer job. Well, can I say I'm a producer, or am I still an AD? I don't know. So it's kind of funny because I had this realization recently where I walked in one day and I had 8 staff full time and this big building and all this stuff going on and multiple movies all around the world. And I was like, oh, shit, I guess I'm a real producer now. I guess I can say that. It took me a long time to admit, wait a minute, I could back that up now. So it's interesting. And, it's a little pressure trying to keep it up. But I'm loving it, and now we're getting to make films the way we want to make them, and we're just having a great time doing it.
No, that's definitely part of it, as well as in the film world, it's always a little bit of a mixed bag. I mean, like, you'll sometimes take an AD job, and then sometimes you'll take the AD job that's right under it, and something. It's just like it always depends on connections and who you're dealing with, and stuff like that. You and I have always. I mean, there were times when were first starting out as a line producer, you maybe had to jump back to first AD for a minute or something like that.
Oh
I mean, it's like
yeah,
that happens. I mean, it's not abnormal to so that's what blurs those lines sometimes that you're talking about. Like, am I a real producer? Or am I an AD? Because I just I just started line producing with this company, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, but I'm back to being a first AD on this set. And so that makes it tough sometimes. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I've done that been many times too, where I'll be like a first AD somewhere, and then all of a sudden I second AD on the next movie. And, it's like same type of thing. So you're trying to, but sometimes you're working with different people, and that's and they have somebody that they want for a certain position, and things like that. So it's kind of like you take the work where you get the work. Sometimes it's nice to if you have your own company, it's a nice thing. I'm sure it's always good. So one of the cool things about this movie, and we've seen it, and I'll probably put that clip up on our social media site, but is that Prime did a massive, massive ad campaign with billboards in Times Square. You talk about that and how those came about.
honestly, I didn't know. I think they, I think I found out the day they went up, and I sent somebody over. I sent my friend Rosalind over. I'm like, hey, I hear we have a billboard in Times Square. I'm thinking it's this small little thing on the side somewhere. I'm like, could you maybe see if you can find it, snap a photo for me? So she rolled over, and this thing is huge. I mean, there's several of them, but they're like the entire side of buildings, right in the middle of Times Square. And that was kind of interesting because I sat there. I'm like, oh shit. Sorry, can I curse? I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're
Was
good.
like, wow, wow, wow. We're legit. Because who gets billboards nowadays?
No, absolutely, and
And
yeah, go ahead.
so they're doing this pretty big campaign all over LA, which is we're excited about because not everybody gets that, especially on a film that's going straight to streaming. And then to have several in New York, and I just got a list of a bunch more that are going up. which are so I guess they're getting such good response. They're throwing more out there, which
Yeah.
is it's kind of amazing.
Well, it's nice to see that ad campaign from Prime because the streamers usually just kind of screw us over. So so it's nice to see that they've decided to have our back for once. That's
Yes,
great. Prime
they're
doing
they're
that.
very they're very excited about this project. We're all very excited. We think it's really going to go big, and fingers crossed, sequels. But they're really behind us on it and pushing hard, so people are aware of it. Obviously, the film has to stand on its own, but getting people to know it's out there, they're doing a great job. And nowadays, with streaming, you just don't get much P&A. So this is, it was a treat.
And I worked with Eva Longoria like maybe 20 years ago. Um, when I went out to LA and moved out there, and I started. And my buddy Jason Kemp got me like some episodes of Desperate Housewives when I first got out there, and I worked like a lot of second unit, and also a lot of some main unit stuff and things like that for a few episodes. And Eva Longoria was on set quite a bit. She's always very nice. I had a good time, dealing with that cast and stuff like that for the most part, and she was always very sweet. So I enjoyed working with her there. Um, and then that led into Jericho and stuff like that I did out there as well. But then, yeah, Desperate Housewives, and she's done a ton of movies since then. And did you
Uh,
enjoy working with
oh, she was amazing.
her? Yeah,
With anybody of her stature, you don't always get them for very long, right? Because they're so busy. So you end up squeezing a lot of their stuff into 1 week or 2 weeks, I think, in her case. But she's so pro and so good. Rolls in, gets on set, and nails it every time.
right.
And then turns around and says, "Let's do some social," and bam, and then right back to character. But beyond pro, and I think she really helped. We had a young cast,
Yeah,
and our cast is all amazing, but they're all very young, and it's nice to have somebody with a little more experience that can guide them a bit. And she's just phenomenal, and I mean she's a great director as well. So that helps for sure.
With
yeah. So
some of the cast, like where did you guys come across? Obviously, Eva's as a name, in terms of like broad. She has theatrical pushes, but with some of the younger cast, like how did you guys go about putting that together?
Well, right about when I was being brought into the project, Maya, who plays the lead daughter, she was semi-attached already at that point. It was somebody they were already talking to. And I don't know if it came from Jen or if it came from Lena or if it came from Carlson, the director, but that was already in the talks when I came on. I finalized the deals and such. But so she was sort of somewhat baked in when I got it. And then everybody else we cast. And most of the cast we cast locally in Spain.
yeah,
Whoa!
I think we brought in, there might have been like one other person that came in, but everybody else we cast out of Europe. Now, some came in from the UK, some of the day players and such, but the other leads, all local new folks. Well, not new folks, a lot of them were known in Spain a bit, but not quite known as much in the US. So, yeah, no, we just hit the ground running and casted everywhere all around Spain and found as many real traditional, I would say Spanish people as we could, but even some Mallorcans, trying to keep it as authentic as we could to the story.
It shows again. That's one of those visual elements. Having not seen the completed, obviously you have, and you probably watched it more times than you can count. But just even watching the visuals, the every interaction that is available that you can see now that the film's out, you can see it. And having been able to review from the trailer side, like just seeing the performances, they just feel so. It's interesting because they felt very real. They felt very grounded. It's all this stuff. So great job on the casting because I mean you cast people that look like like projection wise, you look like, oh, this is the up and comer. This is the next name. I mean, that's got to be some experience speaking, but good for the cast, but good for you and your team on putting that together because it definitely shows in the quality of the film.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see a lot of our cast blow up very very quickly.
I mean that's happened from a lot of the other teen drama films that we've done. I mean, like look at After. He
Yeah.
wrote Hero Finds Tiffin. I mean, he was kind of unknown at the time, and he's been in tons of stuff since. And that Josephine as well. I mean, it's that's kind of what kind of happens with those types of films. I think is that you end up with. I mean, I know when I worked with when I did well, when you and I did Sierra Burgess is a Loser back in the day, back in 2017, which was like a year before we did After. Noah Centineo, who's going to be the lead in the next Street Fighter movie, and he's got a whole bunch of stuff that he's got. We had him as virtually an unknown guy in Sierra Burgess. We probably wouldn't. I mean, nowadays we probably wouldn't even be able to get him for that film. You know, so that it is kind of neat when you get to work with these kinds of actors that are kind of like the next generation of people that's going to be in all these great movies. So that's it, and it's hard to kind of you can kind of see it sometimes, but everybody kind of takes their own path, and as long as they kind of stay on the straight and narrow, they'll get there and realize their potential. It's fun to see the ones that are able to keep working and do the right things, and because not everyone does, and those guys continue down a great path, and sometimes it goes the other way as well, unfortunately. But yeah, it's been interesting to see these kinds of younger actors that we've been able to work with over the last like 9 or 10 years for sure. Because we've done a lot of movies with a lot of younger folks in the last 9 or 10 years. And I really kind of enjoy it actually, and I like getting to work with.
Yeah. It's very exciting, especially because we've done so many YA projects. We're getting folks as they're just coming out. And it's really exciting to watch that ride and that journey. I mean, hey, even going back to Tony, let's go back to Waiting. Look at the cast in Waiting. Not YA, but oh my God, everybody on that blew up at a point, and it's fun to see that, and they're good people, so you like seeing it,
Yeah, I mean, like Ryan Reynolds was known at the time when we worked with him, but he definitely, I mean, his massive career arc came after Waiting. As far as like Anna Faris was known because of Scary Movie and stuff. But by the time she does Waiting, we have a ton of other people that are on that, like Justin Long, you know, uh, Ubach, and yeah, it's Dane Cook. Dane Cook
right?
gets huge after Waiting. I mean, because like he's barely in the Waiting. He's just working in the he's just working in the kitchen, and he's got like a few scenes here and there, but then he blows up and he becomes a lead for a long time. And yeah, it's pretty neat. I love that aspect to this industry. I love being able to work with people that you're like, is this guy gonna be huge? He could be huge, or I don't know. He seems great. It's also kind of interesting and fun to sometimes work with an actor that is kind of unknown at the time, and then you work with them again, and you kind of get to see, are they the same person? Are they as cool as they were the first time, or are they not as cool the second time? Because that
It goes
happens.
both ways. It goes both ways.
It goes both ways. So yeah, I mean that's part of the fun of the industry a lot of times, and how I attribute it to getting to meet interesting people, and that's part of the fun of getting to do movies. Uh, so that's one of the things I love about it. So here's the thing: how many cities have you been to in the last 24 hours? Because you
uh, yeah, one, two, three, four, five, and it'll be
five,
seven. It'll be seven tomorrow.
yeah, yeah, five.
So normally I'm a little more rambunctious and bubbly.
I was gonna. We were texting like all night, and he was like, I'm gonna land at some point, and I'll get to a spot where I can do the show." And I was like, dude, if you can't do the show, that's okay. I was like, I appreciate you even trying, but I was like, all of a sudden he had to jump flights and go here, and there. I was like, he's like, yeah, I got to go to 5 cities in the next like 10 hours, and I was like, oh, okay, that'll be fun.
Well, when we set this up, I was going to be in Jersey hanging out.
Right?
I was like, oh, this is going to be great. We can relax and have a nice conversation. And then yesterday, everything everything changed, as production does sometimes.
Yeah, everything changes in production, but not all the time do you have to jump a flight and go, around the world. Sometimes it's like things in production change, and I had to drive down the street, to make sure everything worked. You're like, yeah, Tony, I got to jump on a flight, and I'll be in 5 cities in the next 10 hours. But all the cities are around the world. They're halfway across the country, halfway across the world. It's like, all right, that's you got to do what you got to do. That's the Brian Pitt way. I actually fully thought you might be taking this interview from a plane at some point in time. To be real honest with
Yeah,
you.
it's possible. Well, if you remember back to, I guess, 2022, 2023, when I was doing all the Bulgarian stuff, I mean, I had 5 movies going at the same time around the world, and I
Yeah.
spent almost 11 months never sleeping in the same place twice. I had an apartment in 4 cities in 4 countries, and every other day I was on a flight and I'd sleep on the plane, go to one set, check things out, fix a few issues, get back on a plane, fly to another country. And that was my life for almost a year. Uh, Hence why I decided to slow it down a little bit and be like, I'm going to do my own thing for a little while, uh, and focus a little more on the art of the project, and be able to get a little more hands on than overseeing all these projects around the world. But
No, I remember that was chaos. 22, 23 was chaos. We did a lot of stuff. Because you sent me so many scripts to do in those like 2 or 3 years. I was like, at one point, I think I was doing because I would do that, and then I would jump on these Zoom calls with directors and stuff to talk to for you guys, and would be taking Zoom calls at like 2 a.m. And that's something pretty normal for you, but that's like it was kind of funny that I was doing that. I'd be like, yeah, I gotta go jump on the Zoom at 2 a.m. So it's like I gotta
yeah,
just
Drew, I,
how
I
we
was so busy. I needed guys I trusted to help, right? And so Tony does a lot of script evaluation, script work, scheduling, all that kind of stuff where it's production planning. And I was like, I knew I could give Tony a project and just give his number to the director. And I knew he was going to take care of it, and I could go focus on something else for a while. So I baited him into that a few times. And I'm like, the
no,
director, oh, just call Tony, it's fine. And the next thing you know, Tony's prepping the whole film for him.
it
I
was
love it.
great. One of the funny stories that I remember, and we'll tell the story, and then we'll get into some of our fun '90s movies that we like to discuss on the show. But one of the funny stories was when we were doing After Two, After We Collided, the second After. And speaking of you having multiple movies, this was like one of the
Yeah.
first years. This was like one of the first years where you actually did that. And I remember you had like three going at once, and they were all in different buildings, but in the same area. And I remember you getting the scooter. You got the scooter,
I
and
did
you
when the Bird scooter first came out. I'm like, I need to own my own.
yeah, right. So he bought this scooter, and then would ride around to different buildings in the pre-production and pre-production. They were in various stages of production. One was in post, I think, at one point. One was in pre-production. One was in, I don't know, two were in pre-production. I don't know what they were, but they were. You were going to building to building. All of a sudden, I'd be like, "Where the hell's Brian?" And then all of a sudden, you come riding up the street on this scooter with a big grin on your face. Be like, dude, I
I
don't. I
just did
mean,
rounders all day, and
you
I
were
was
doing
trying to keep everybody from knowing. I didn't want the directors thinking that I wasn't focusing on them 100%. And I think at
right.
one point, even the Voltage didn't know. And I finally told them, like, well, we're just closing another one out, because I want to give everybody the attention they want. So I just all day drove around, scooter to scooter, walking around. And yeah, we had 3 going at that same moment.
No, I remember it was very hush hush, and you were like, "Hey, just don't let anyone know you know, but don't let anyone else know what I'm doing." I was like, "Okay." Scooter to
I think
scooter to
everybody thought I went to the bathroom a lot because everybody say, oh, he must be in the bathroom. I don't know. And people were like, "Is he okay? He's like, is he not feeling well?"
I don't want to even go into what our director on that during that time thought you were doing, but yeah, it was kind of funny, and you're right, that was interesting. A lot of fun. Let's get into some of these '90s movies, Drew.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So it's May 5th, 1995, Brian. That's where we're traveling back to for this bad boy. And the first movie on deck here is, if the history of the show, we enjoy rom-coms. Tony and I are both weirdos that enjoy rom-coms, which makes sense why you guys are doing a bunch of YA stuff, right? You're rom-com adjacent there. But we're into this we're into May 5th, and it's the movie that comes out is French Kiss. Do you remember that movie at all?
Well, I got to tell you, I did not remember that movie, but I went and rented it on the flight.
You did, you did tell me you did tell me you were gonna watch these all on the flight.
What there was. Well, I know you got. I forget all the other ones, but yeah. So I went online right before my flight and tried to download every movie you guys were going to talk about, and
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm going to be so prepared. Like I'm going to know these films,
that was
it was hard to get through them all, but yeah.
so he sent so he sends me a text last night. He goes, "Here's my playlist for my flight to Mallorca," and he goes, and it's all four of the movies that we're going to talk about today. And I was like, "Oh, you'll never." I was like, "That's you." I was like, "You're doing more homework for the show than Drew usually does." I was like, it's. I
I
was
love
like,
it. I think it's
"You're
great.
up odds."
Look, I got pockets of memory, and sometimes they activate, and sometimes they are filled with, in my case, former party time. We'll keep it civil that way, right? So those guys have retired, those brain cells. Let's go with French Kiss, a movie that, I'll be honest with you, all I remembered was that it did not have it. It has I see his face, but he's not French, and he's playing a Frenchman.
So it's directed by Lawrence Kasdan, who's
They're
brought us
great. Yeah.
many, and it stars Meg Ryan and Kevin Kline.
Kevin Kline, he's playing a Frenchman, right?
Right. It also has Jean Reno in the movie. So is that confusing to you?
No, because he's a legit Frenchman. I know him, but Kevin Kline being a French, he's not French.
And Timothy Hutton. Timothy Hutton's in the film as well, and it did quite well. It's like a $40 million movie that made over $100 million, which is nice, if you can get it. And then, yeah, I mean, this was a date movie. I actually went on a legit date with a female, and we went to Carmike 10 and saw this film. And that relationship didn't work out. It's not
Brian, that's also the theme of this show is Tony's dates followed by, and that relationship did not work out. It's one of my favorites. Sometimes he takes them to weird movies. At least this girl he took to a romantic movie.
No, I did. We did go to the romantic movie. She wanted to see this. And of course I see everything. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It's part of the Meg Ryan romantic comedy collection. It's a good movie.
I have no problem with it. I don't remember it, Brian. You obviously freshly watched it. Did anything stand out to you having watched it now here in 2026?
Well, no, because I was hoping you wouldn't actually bring this one up first because it's the one I didn't get
Oh,
Oh,
you're good then.
to.
that's all right.
So it exposed me right out of the box. I didn't get to that one.
Oh, you're good
It
then.
wouldn't play. There was something wrong with the download, and then it didn't get there.
Oh, there you go. You can watch. Hey, Brian, you can watch it on the way back and just tell me what you thought in private.
Will
There
do.
you go.
Will do.
It'll be right.
So 1 week later, we get into, and the next 2 weeks for me are two of my favorite films, they're not in my like top 10, but they're in my top like 20, maybe 30 list. We get to Crimson Tide, which obviously is the story of Alabama football.
Right. Yeah. I know Brian's seen this one.
That one I love that film. It's great fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's of course Tony Scott, who is a legend, of course, one of my favorite directors actually. Um, who's now deceased, unfortunately. But Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman and Viggo Mortensen, James Gandolfini, Rocky Carroll, Matt Craven. It's a loaded cast. Uh, $50 million movie. It did like 160 million. Solid. Everybody's solid in it. I mean, it's a good one for sure.
The thing I love about stuff like Crimson Tide is that they have tension in a confined space without it being like a haunted house. Like the tension in that movie is they're trapped in a submarine. I mean, you're in a submarine for the majority of it, right? And you have global events to kind of steer it, but like that is close knit intimacy in terms of that. So the level, and of course the actors. I mean, just with Denzel and Gene Hackman alone, like, and then the rest of the cast. That's what makes that. And then you have somebody like Tony Scott, who this is previous to him getting into this absolutely crazy editor. I forget that guy's name, but he has that one editor that does all the flash cuts. This is pre-flash cut Tony Scott. So you're still getting this like really long, strong narrative direction, and then this intimacy of tension. To me, is why it's forever going to be something. It's like a case study movie to me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Crimson Tide. I mean, listen, Gene Hackman to me, every time I watch him, I used to just love his films. I mean, they're still great, and of course, we lost him fairly recently, but yeah, I mean, he hasn't been an actor. I mean, he hasn't been an actor since like 2004, anyway. But yeah, I mean, this is one of his great movies and one of his classic '90s movies for sure. And of course, Denzel is Denzel, right? I mean, he's pretty much the man in almost every movie he's in.
How big was Denzel at that time? Was he still coming up, or was he huge at that
He was pretty big by this time. He's pretty big by here. Yeah, I mean he's a full lead here at this point, and top of the marquee with Gene Hackman as well. So yeah, he's pretty big. I remember it's funny because I remember being a kid and watching Denzel in a movie called Carbon Copy with George Siegel, which is a
Yeah,
comedy
yeah.
back in the '80s, and thinking, man, this guy's really funny, and of course he ended up being a massive star, but he was great in that. He was great in that movie as well. And yeah, I mean, I think I've pretty much watched all Denzel. He's one of the right. So
Can you either of you guys speak to the idea? And because obviously I never worked really I wasn't cut out for the AD world. Can you guys just react to the idea of what if you're on set as an AD and your two leads are Denzel Washington and Hackman? Like, what do you think that situation is like? Because both those guys are probably particular at this point, especially Hackman. So you're running into some of those scenarios. I mean, what is your take on that? What do you think what would your vibe be if you're suddenly like, hey, we want you to come do this film with Hackman and Denzel Washington?
it's funny you say that because I actually know the AD, the first AD from this movie, um, because it's I was talking to Steve Din, and so I actually know the first AD from this movie, and him and I actually spoke about uh, this movie at one point in time when we worked together. We did a commercial together, and I was asking him about these types of movies. And I mean, by all indications for him, I mean, and of course I've done tons of movies, and Brian has too as an AD. But when you got veteran actors like this, you just kind of feeling them out as they get to set and stuff, and trying to figure out how they carry themselves on set. How you. So I have a classic story. I have a great story about this. So I was doing a movie called The Courier with that starred Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Mickey Rourke came in and did. He was like the lead villain, and he did like 2 days on our shoot. And I remember, coming to set as a key second AD and telling Chad Rose, who I was doing that movie, and I was like, I went up there and They had just got done shooting the master for this scene in this casino, one of Mickey Rourke's days, and and so we were on coverage, and we first get Jeffrey Dean's coverage. We shoot Jeffrey Dean's coverage first. I mean, I'm sorry, reverse that. Sorry, Mickey Rourke's coverage first, and Jeffrey Dean's off camera, and he does all the off camera stuff for Mickey Rourke. And then they flip the camera, and they're in the middle of the setup, and I go over to Mickey Rourke and I tell him, "Hey, look, they asked you to be off camera for Jeffrey Dean." He goes, "Oh, I don't do that." He goes,
Oh,
"He's like, you got to go get the stunt double or the stand-in, or somebody like that to go do off camera." Like, oh, because I knew Jeffrey Dean had just done it, and I was, oh, that's that's and that's one of those unwritten. That's one of those kind of unwritten rules. If somebody does off camera for you should do it for them too on the reverse. And and so he didn't, and I mean, it wasn't it was kind of an upset. I had just got done telling everybody. I went over there. I told Shaq. I told the director, and I said, "Listen, he doesn't want to do off camera, just so you know." And they kind of just blew me off, like it's going to be perfectly okay. It was not okay. It was not okay. And I talked to Jeffrey Dean. I talked to him to this day, and and that was a fun scene. So that's you're kind of gauging it like that all the time. Kind of walking a fine line with the veterans. You got to see how they operate and kind of know that stuff going in a little bit. And for a director talking to these guys in pre-production and in rehearsal time in a rehearsal space will help because they would get a better sense of how these guys want to approach when they actually shoot. When they actually shoot. Agree or
yeah.
hey, Brian?
Um,
Brian,
I
you
you got
there?
lost you
anything to
there.
add?
Yeah, you.
You're back.
No, yeah, it's always just a matter of it's managing personalities, right? I luckily haven't had too many big stars colliding back in the AD world. Um, I did have to go talk to some. I remember one time, I'm not gonna get into the story too much, but when we were doing Five Fingers with Lawrence Fishburne, I remember
That's
having to go have a conversation with him in his trailer, and it was like something I kind of needed him to change in how he was doing something. And I was terrified. I mean, I go into this trailer, I'm shaking. This is one of the most intimidating men I've ever met in my life. An amazing actor. And here's Brian Pitt, first AD, coming in to try to school him on something. And he sat down and I said, "Hey, Fish," didn't even look up. And I said what I had to say. And he just, like, the moment of silence seemed like it went on for like an hour. And I was just sweating. And then he just looked up and he goes, "Okay." And that was it. And I was like, "Oh my God," I thought I was fired. I thought he was going to get rid of me. I thought I'd never work in Hollywood again. Um, so, generally, I've had good luck with folks when you have to be very direct and such. But man, it's scary. It's intimidating. And when you're on a set
It's
with these amazing actors, they know what they're doing. So it's hard to jump in there, but you got to do
in,
it.
in fairness to you, that was like your second movie as a first AD.
Oh, I
So,
was a baby.
and we did have a veteran cast on that because we had Lawrence Fishburne, we had his wife Gina Torres, and we had Ryan Phillippe, and so it was a pretty veteran group. So yeah, I mean, and Cole Meany, and like it was pretty good group.
that's a great cast.
Yeah,
That's like a
but
rock star cast.
Tony, I think Cole and I got into it on that film
you
a
did.
little bit. Yeah.
So the scene is set up like this, right? So we're shooting in this like dank, almost falling down warehouse in New Orleans, and we're under the gun. So one of the things that costumes sometimes what happens is you get into these situations. Sometimes costumes will bring out the costumes to set, so you can kind of change on the fly. And that's what happened. Costumes brought a shirt out for Colmini to switch so we could get into the next scene really quick. And Brian had the setup was such that they were in the shot for the next setup, and where they were switching out a shirt, and uh, and so you're like, okay, we have to clear, the shot, we have to clear the shot, and they were in the middle of the shot, and you were trying to clear them out, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to help you out by switching shirts on set, and you're forcing me out of the shot. You're forcing me out of the area. And he's like, and that's what started that whole scenario with you guys.
Yeah, we had a little pissing contest, but that happens.
Listen, I dealt with it. I had an actor refuse to read the lines, and he started changing them, and in front of the cast. And I was this when I was directing. It was a movie. I won't say who it was, but like same thing. To a point, he's like, "I'm not saying it." I was like, "No, you're saying it. I'm not saying it." And so it was. Sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of the veteran versus the new guy, and I get it. But it was one of those moments where it's just like stand toe to toe. We're saying all of this, and I
I
would
don't
be
know
intimidated. Go ahead.
if it's good or bad that I've been here for all these moments you guys are talking about, but I've been
There's
the
a
guy you both on all these moments.
All I was going to say is good or bad, I would be extremely intimidated by the cast of Crimson Tide. But then on May 19th, one of the greatest action movies of all time comes out, in my opinion, which is Die Hard with a Vengeance. And you have to deal with Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson. I forget his name. I see his face. Tony will input it. I'm terrible at names. Um,
Jeremy
in,
Irons.
in Jeremy Irons, thank you. In one of the most intensely well written and awkward moments in the front half of that movie, with a certain with Bruce Willis wearing an A-frame sign in Harlem. Do you remember that
Yeah,
scene?
yeah.
That movie alone would, and they're moving all over the city. I can't even imagine the production on that being. This is the opposite of, we're talking about Crimson Tide having a central set. Now all of a sudden it's like, no, there's no central set. We're going to make a Bond style movie, but all set in New York City, and we're going to travel all over the city. And that's why the movie pays off. I feel like it's the best of the Die Hard. I love Die Hard 1, but Die Hard with a Vengeance is just classic for me.
You and I saw this movie together not once but twice at
Yeah,
the
I love
theater.
it.
It's
Yep.
amazing. And I was thinking about this last night because I knew this was coming up. Listen, Die Hard is obviously a classic, and it's, I guess, a Christmas movie, and so is the second one because they're both time. And they're both great films, and I love both of those films. I gotta be, and obviously, Die Hard with a Vengeance doesn't happen without the first two movies. But I think this might be my favorite franchise. To be real honest with you, I just, there's so much humor in it, and I love the villains so much, and I love me with the buddy buddy stuff, and of course he has Reginald Bell Johnson in the first movie, but this does these two guys going through all this stuff together. I just kind of love the camaraderie with him and Samuel L. Jackson. I'm still kind of trying to find Samuel L. Jackson at this point. He's done a bunch of movies, but I mean, he's still becoming like a big, big A-list kind of guy at this point.
Plus, you get Graham Greene. You get Graham
Graham,
Greene in this movie.
you get Graham Greene and Colleen Camp, who I'm going to mention as well because I worked with her. She plays Detective Kowalski, who's kind of with Graham Greene. Uh, Colleen Camp's great. She's a sweet lady. Uh, who also does a lot of producing work as well. But yeah, John McTiernan. This movie's a classic. I loved it, and I watch this a lot. I think the villains are better here too. To be honest, I like the villains better than I do in any of the other Dino.
I agree. Brian, did you get to rewatch this one on the plane?
I did. I watched the extended cut. I think it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Maybe it's the director's cut. I'm not sure, but it was long. No, it was. I mean, it's great. It's great. And I'd forgotten about that first scene you talked about, Drew. That was a little uncomfortable, initially to watch. But
Well,
no,
I
I
was
mean,
kind of thinking about I was thinking about you on a plane, and if someone looks over and they don't know the context, and you and they see, it's like when there's nudity in a movie on the plane. I'm always like, oh God, is anybody looking? Like, what do I do? It's one of those moments.
Oh, I always embarrassed. I literally, I'm like a kid watching a movie with your parents, and like a kiss scene comes up, and you're mortified. So you're on the plane, and like somebody walks by topless, or the sex scene or something, and I feel like I don't know, I feel like dirty or something. I shouldn't be watching this. I like cover my eyes like it's going to change that the kid across from me is got his eyes glued on the monitor. Yeah.
This was this was this was a massive hit too. It was like $90 million movie, did like 370 million, worldwide, and launched Bruce Willis even into a bigger stratosphere than he was at the time. And yeah, it's a classic for sure. And it's hard to say that sometimes about the third movie in a franchise. Usually, the third movie in a franchise is not really considered to be the classic in the franchise. This is definitely the exception to the rule, no doubt.
I will defend Die Hard with a Vengeance being the best Die Hard until I'm gone. Like I feel like
So good.
and some of it is filmmaker knowledge. Like I've never done anything of that scope, but like I remember us all moving. We've all done movies with multiple locations where it was just absolute chaos, but this had just so many. And then you bring in stunts, and you bring in second unit, and you're gonna bring in it. Just to me, the production value alone, not to compare to modern cinema, but the production value of that film, knowing that they did all of that. I wish more movies could, expand out that way someday. Like some of these bigger tentpole movies, instead of it just being a lot of set pieces, let me travel around the city. Show me that value. Give me the production value. It's good.
Yeah,
Yes.
Drew, early on when I was ADing, I picked up a couple of films doing background, right? I was specifically the background coordinator. And my whole job was to go into the middle of Times Square, and we would have 600 people every day. And we did a couple of films. One was called New York Minute, it was Olsen twins, and one was called Taxi with Queen Latifah and Jimmy Fallon. And we shot all car stunts all over New York. And you're not allowed to close the streets in New York. So you have to keep track of 600 people that are your people, but then let other people walk through. It is exhausting.
As the kids say, literally that story triggers me. Literally, I get the locations panic that Jimmy Woods used to cause in me because I know he listens to the show, but getting lost in the woods is what we called it in the locations department. I get triggered with that when you talk about keeping track of 500 background, bro. I just can't. I can't take it.
It's funny because when you shoot in those types of cities, not just New York, but when you're like down in New Orleans. I mean, I remember a movie Brian and I did where I was down ADing with somebody else, and we had to let people go in the French Quarter. And man, he just got so angry all the time when like one person would get shot. Like, bro, you gotta calm down. I was like, this is the French Quarter, dude. I was like, you gotta stop. Like, I can't control this. Like, we don't we have three PAs, four PAs.
And there's 1,000 people on Bourbon Street. No, we expect a lot.
I can't control them from getting in the shot. That's just the way it's gonna be, bro. You're gonna have to deal with that. That guy and I didn't get along, and he probably knows who.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it
Um,
is what it.
so so we jump out of that into a film. Look, I watched the trailer for this because I didn't remember it. I'll be honest with you. And the film that also came out, programmed against Die Hard with a Vengeance, is a film called Forget Paris. And the trailer's really unique, especially for the timeline. The trailer starts with it's like a dialogue driven trailer, not a montage driven trailer, and it's done in such a way that you have it's the voice of Marge Simpson, Kavner, is that right?
Yeah, yep.
You have her talking in this trailer, and then it cuts over, and I'm like, oh yeah, Billy Crystal's in this movie. And then it looks like the entire cast of Space Jam shows up. They're there. And you get all these great basketball players showing up, and the best one, of course, is Charles Broccoli, as I said when I was a kid. Just because like his performance seems really real, and you have this great moment. I don't remember the movie, but now I'm kind of intrigued by it because it looks absolutely hilarious as he's insulting all these great NBA players, and it's all based on his height, which I think is kind of funny.
No, you gotta check this one out. It's great. It's and it did pretty well. It was like a $21 million movie. It did like almost 60. So it did pretty well against counter programming as a romantic comedy against Die Hard. But I mean, it's directed by Billy Crystal. It was written by Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal produced it. He starred in it. It's one of those films, right? So it's kind of a labor of love project for Billy Crystal. And that's why the NBA takes such a front and center approach, front and center as part of the setting in this because he's such a big NBA fan. So it makes sense why that's all there. And it's got him and Deborah Winger, and Joe Mantegna, and Julie Kavner, as you said, Richard Masur, and Kathy Moriarty. It's a really good veteran cast, and it's a great romantic comedy. I really, it's actually in my collection, um, and I really, really always enjoyed it. Saw this one, another date movie with another relationship that didn't work out. Same one.
Tell you, dude. One day I'm going to make a super cut of all of the movies that Tony has seen, and then it's followed by just one, and it didn't work out. But it'll be, this was a date movie. It'll be like 27,000 movies, and it'll be, not 27, but like over the course of this show, we've had like 10, 15 movies where he's been like, I went on a date with this girl, and this one didn't work out. It's like, yep, I got it. It's great.
I mean, I'm single now, so obviously it didn't work out.
Right? So Tony, I did watch this one on the plane,
Okay.
and I got about 20 minutes into it and I started dozing off. But the funny part was I was listening to it with my eyes shut, trying to sleep. And there's so many recognizable voices, like you talked about the Marge Simpson and everybody else, that I started picturing this whole movie playing out in the cartoon world almost all the way through it because it was Marge Simpson. Because I'm not watching it, right? I'm just listening to it. I'm trying to keep my eyes shut because I'm exhausted, and it was Marge Simpson every time. And I was thinking of this Billy Crystal. There was an old cartoon he did a long time ago, and I did this whole entire movie as a cartoon in my head. I was a little delirious. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Love it. I think it's
I think
brilliant.
I think I gotta give the shout out to like what did he have, like the third largest Simpsons collection in the world or something. We gotta give a shout out to Shappy because you're on the show, and we're talking about the Simpsons. If I don't mention Shappy Shapiro on this show with all that going on, he's going to get mad at me. So I'm going to mention him right now. But yeah, I mean, Forget Paris is a good film. I think that's one to check out. I haven't seen it. It's probably one that got kind of lost over time a little bit. But Billy Crystal and Deborah Winger. You don't get a lot of Deborah Winger films. She was pretty picky about scripts and things like that. So when she was in a movie, it's kind of like Daniel Day Lewis. It was kind of like you might as well watch it if you're a fan. So good stuff.
In that time frame, she was a babe, dude. She was a good looking
Yeah,
lady.
she's
She was a
great.
really
Yeah.
good looking lady.
That's a that's a good film, and everyone's funny in it, and it's got fun all the fun elements of a good romantic.
And that's our list for this week. I'm not saying we're done with the show here, but that's our list for this week. Brian, does any of these stand out? Does any of these that we've discussed, whether you've seen them or not, doesn't matter, but does any of them stand out? Do we have like a of these four movies, if Brian says you should watch one of these movies, which one would you say is like, hey, this one's actually worth watching if you've never seen it?
Yeah, look, I'm gonna go right for Crimson Tide on that.
Okay.
I watched it. I could watch that again right after.
Yeah,
You know,
that's.
uh,
I feel like that's a movie that not a lot of people talk about, even though it was a big hit at the time. I still feel like that's a movie that since it's happened in 1995, people have kind of lost it, even though it was a big smash hit. Die Hard is Die Hard, but Crimson Tide's going to check out for sure. I agree with that.
yeah, when you first mentioned Crimson Tide, I read it real quick. I was doing 10 things at once, and for a moment, I thought you were doing Red October,
We're a little
which
beyond that.
it's red, crimson. There's a submarine, uh, and I almost downloaded Red October, and I went back and read it. But no, that it was great. I could watch that over and
And
over again.
Red October is the Alec Baldwin one, right? And that is a Tom Clancy, and that's Jack Ryan. I think it's a Jack Ryan movie, technically.
It is, and it's got Sean Connery. And it's classic as well. I mean, there's a lot of good. You know, you know, you get a lot of good thriller elements in submarines, and there's a lot of good submarine movies. To be real honest, quite a few. So yeah, it seems to be a good setting for a nice, fun thriller for sure.
Well, as we kind of wrap up, Brian, tell us a little bit more about the movie. So tell us like the production process, because obviously you're traveling over there. You said you cast locally. What was it like filming over there? Obviously, you must have had a aside from the movie stress, which exists, but you're in one of the most beautiful locations in the world shooting this. What is the experience like for you on that side of it?
Yeah, well, look, it was amazing filming here. You know, everywhere you look, it's beautiful. It was extremely challenging because again, when I first started working with local companies, and I was calling the local folks, I'd never been to Majorca before, and I'm like, hey, we want to come and film, and we really want to film there, and they all just kept saying, no, please don't come. Like, we want you to come, but do not come until October. For God's sakes, whatever you do, do not come here until October. And I kept saying, no, we're coming. They're like, you're not going to get on a beach. There's going to be nowhere to park. I'm like, we're coming. We're going to work it out. So it was extremely challenging. It's an unbelievably busy city, and we were there in the middle of everything. You can't close beaches down. So there were moments where we would hike so deep into beaches that were so remote. It was the only way we could get an empty beach. Where we would have all the equipment hiked in the weekend before. We'd have security sleeping on the beach for the weekend because we couldn't there was no way. It took 2 days to get the equipment to hike in a few miles down a cliff face and onto a hidden cove. So there was a lot of that. So logistically, it was challenging, which is nice, right? Because sometimes it gets a little boring if it's too easy. Um, but filming here was amazing, and come on, the food's beautiful. Everything's great. The food's great. The locations are great. The hotels were amazing. I had people come visit on this one a lot. So we had a really great time being here, but it was extremely challenging just because we chose to come at the one time they begged us not to come.
Of course, of course. Why would it be any different? It wouldn't be a Brian Pitt movie if you didn't make a jump.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not closing things for you. There's a shot in a cave. You guys will see it's a beautiful shot. But it was, well, we close at 9 o'clock. I guess we're going in at 9 o'clock p.m. and working all night. And it was a cave. It didn't have to be the middle of the night. There's no lights anyway, but you got to get around, 100,000 tourists every day. So,
Right.
but when you guys see the film, I mean, it's an ode to this entire island. It's postcard. It's we're going to hurt them because we're going to get even more tourism. Yeah.
I love it. Look, I'm in advertising now, so that's like my dream stuff, dude. Like, that's like the perfect ROI. You have this movie that's the greatest commercial of all time. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, you couldn't possibly get the advertising that we're about to give them.
Amazing, love it. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. Looking forward to it. Obviously, I've read the script like 8 times, so I know what's happening in the movie. But it'll be fun to see it for the first time. We'll watch it tonight. We're gonna watch it tonight.
Good stuff. All right.
We'll have
Well,
tickets.
well, is there anything else you wanted to add about that in terms of like anything that stands out to you, Brian, that we maybe didn't? I mean, you're the inside man on this one, so anything that stands out to you that's like, aside from please watch it because we all need to go watch it. It's on Prime, so there you go. Makes for an easy push. It's beautiful, cool location. Anything else that stands out you want to share with us, and then we'll transition to the old wrap up.
And no, I think you just hit everything. I mean, please watch my movie, uh, so I can get another one.
Yeah,
And no, it's you're gonna love it. And it's one of those films. A lot of times, any of these dramatic YA love stories that we do a lot of, it's hard to gear them to where it's not just a date night movie, right? This is one where the guys can watch this alone and they're gonna love it. The girls can watch it alone. You can go on a date and watch it together. And I think that's a hard balance to hit. And I think we really hit it on this one. And I think we even broadened our demographic where a 16-year-old can enjoy this and so can a 60-year-old. So I think you're gonna see this movie around a lot, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
So you said I can watch this on a date. That's
Yes,
great.
you
Oh
can.
God.
And then you
Oh
can break
no.
up with the girl. So
Boom.
Well done. What an alley oop. You guys are clearly a team. That was a perfect alley oop. That was like the best you could ever see, or a hat trick, whatever you want to call it, whatever sport you're into at the moment.
Nah, it's good stuff. That's how it always has been. I got a couple things I want to wrap up with real quick, if that's okay. Uh, First of all, check out all our social media stuff. We have a really good Instagram page now. It's only been up for like a month. We've already got 500 followers, which is a lot for us. So check out our back for our future Instagram. Check out our we have clips and stuff like that that we always put up, and check out our back for our future Facebook page. Make sure you guys always subscribe, like, review, rate all of our stuff because that always helps us out. If you can do that, that'd be great. And also, I get on late nights, usually about 1 o'clock Central Time, and do my whatnot feeds and sell all my movie and sell lots of movie memorabilia and cards and things like that. I got different streams at different times of the day. But one of my movie memorabilia one starts at 1 a.m. Central Time, and there's quite a few people that get on it. Uh, and so I got a lot of movie memorabilia on that. Hundreds of items, hundreds of items. And my shop is, if you don't want to go on the stream, just check me out at Lusjack, Lusjack. That's Lusjack, Lusjack, and you can see my shop on Whatnot, and also check out any of my streams. And that's about it.
Deal. All right. Well, Brian, thank you again, dude. And again, like this is on camera, but I'm saying it sincerely. I owe a lot of my career to you because you were one of the nice ADs to me when I was a key set or locations on that movie. Horst I still talk to him on the regular. He and I are still very close, and it was another guy. And so I appreciate you guys being patient with us back then because it led me to have a career. And then now I afford to feed my family, and I'm responsible for 7 other people. Just like you, I own a business too. And so now, same thing. So it starts, and I've said this before to Tony, it starts with those relationships. But truly, man, I really do owe part of my career to you, and I'm very grateful. So thank you for joining us on our podcast. From the bottom, absolute left, right, up, down, all parts of my heart. I truly appreciate you being here.
well, thank you guys for having me.